registration line is really long, which on the one hand, it's really cool that there's that many people showing up this early on Friday, and it's really depressing that there's that many people in line who can't get ready. The registration shouldn't take that long. This is a service industry, and you know my goal? If I'm working that table, I want your money, and I have a badge, and I'll just hand it to you. Here you go. Thank you. End of transaction. Please go spend money in the dealer room. That's because the dealer room just opened too. Okay, so we'll have about 100 people come wandering out of the dealer room in another 5 minutes, and then come in and go, is he dead yet? And no, because my wife's still in the hallway threatening people. With a sigh. You know why she took that one? It's shiny and it's not very functional. Of all the weapons on the stage, that's the least effective weapon. Other than my can of pop. Actually, that's pretty serious. If you take my can of pop, I will kill you. So it's a pretty effective weapon. Look, there are things I can forgive. You want to try to steal my wife? Good luck. You want my kid? Please. The Mountain Dew, though, that's special. It's throwback. The only soft drink actually older than I am. Almost. Are you taking pictures of my feet? What's wrong with my feet? Now I'm paranoid. Okay, so. I know, you're giggling, but the truth is I'm still taller than she is. You know what? I'll bet we're closer in height with me kneeling than standing even next year. But that's okay. I've been married for 10 years. I spend a lot of time like this. It's just usually this attitude. Shut up! I didn't mean more than that.
It's not this, it's please, I'm sorry. Come on, let me back in the house.
I'm not sure I understand that, but it bothers me. A lot. You know, I saw a new free hugs thing on Facebook this week that I actually really liked. It was the face hugger from the Alien movies. It said free hugs. Like, I like that. Of course, that was posted right next to the face hugger on somebody's face. It said, still a better love story than Twilight. And there was one I thought you would like because it had the close-up of whoever the guy is in Twilight, making a mean face, and it said, I'm a super killer, or I'm a vampire, I'm the scariest monster ever, or something. And the next picture below was Sam and Dean Winchester laughing. And then it said a bad word starting with a B, refers to female canines. And it said that, comma, please, and then them laughing. I know, normally I'd say those words, but somebody's recording, and it's only Friday afternoon. Wait until Saturday night.
The camera's not recording, actually. It's just on.
She's recording. It was just my feet, but if she's putting up Facebook clips of my feet using bad words, what are you gonna do, wash my feet with soap? That's actually not a bad thing. All right, look, I want to know what you two were into before the con. No one laughs that hard Friday afternoon, your first convention. Unless it's because you escaped from a place where normally you wear little white coats with the sleeves and tie in the back. I'm trying to get one custom made for me, but they don't really show. They're not that big. They fit here. They're like jolly people, they're crazy. That explains why they laugh. That has nothing to do with our panel. We should start, but I'm still stalling, hoping that people will come in as they get registered. But what's happening is they're registering and going in the dealer room. Go kill them! No! Those are sharp. So my wife takes a weapon that's shiny and not very functional. My son takes one that doesn't look very cool, but is fully sharp and will actually take your head off. Love my son. Sometimes. Depends on whether or not he's mowed the yard recently or promotions. Hi. Nice. Might work on vampires, won't work on blondes. Neither does garlic, because she thinks there's pizza somewhere. Hi, sweetheart. All right, we're going to start our panel. This is Ninja Weapons of Death, also known as non-traditional weapons of feudal Japan. But frankly, if we put that on your program guide, no one would have come in. Unless, of course, my wife scared you away. The lemur's not one of the ninja weapons of death, is it?
Yes, it is. It's a magic evil killing lemur.
She's not that far off. Have you seen the stuffed animals that have those huge eyes, and they've figured out a way to make them that you put the animal down and stays still, but no matter where you move in the room, it looks like the eyes are looking at you? My wife loves stuffed animals, and I hate spending money, especially if we're performing somewhere, because this is a paycheck, so we're here to make money, not spend it. But every con, she whines and whimpers and wants a nice stuffed animal, and if she puts out the emotional blackmail enough. So we bought her a lemur at a convention. And it was cute, and it had these huge, you know, Walt Disney Bambi eyes. And I didn't know it did that. So we went to sleep, and the next morning she actually got up before I did, which almost never happens, which makes me think she set me up. So I'm laying in bed, and she gets up, she goes in to take a shower, and she puts the lemur on her pillow facing me. And so I'm laying in bed, and I realize, I reach over, put my arm around her, and realize she's not there. So I open my eyes, and right in front of my face, these huge eyes. And I went, ah! And jumped out of bed, which is not a normal, hey, it's Saturday morning thing. Jumped out of bed and went and hit at the other end of the room and looked, that freaking thing was still looking at me. Like, what in the world? And Jill's in the bathroom, and she starts giggling. It's like she already knew.
The dogs start barking and freaking out, and I knew he woke up.
And now we have 3 of them. I think they're reproducing. 4? 4 of them. Swell. It's cheaper than kids. And frankly, if we tied a rope around a child's neck and attached it to a purse, they'd probably take me away. You mean they're not supposed to? Ninja Weapons of Death! What we're going to do is we're going to talk about weapons that we commonly associate with the ninja. And they were actually different weapons used in Japan back at the time when the samurai were the ruling class, they were the nobility. Japan was a caste system. By that, in a caste system, if your dad's a farmer, you're going to be a farmer. And your child is going to be a farmer. And if you're a samurai, your child's going to be a samurai. Now, one of the ways that the people in charge stay in charge is they create laws that limit the general population's ability to fight back. And so what happened in Japan was they made it illegal for a peasant, for a non-noble, to own or carry the katana, or Japanese longsword, or the wakizashi, the short sword, or the naginata, basically anything that they could use that was designed for defending yourself or combat on the battlefield. And what they did is they told the peasants that it's okay, we'll protect you. You know, kind of like the government tells us now. And it doesn't always work that way. So when the samurai weren't there to protect them, the population had to find other ways to protect themselves. So what they did is they took, basically, farm implements and found ways to make them usable. The first thing we're going to talk about is the sai, because, well, frankly, the coolest Ninja Turtle carried these. Raphael. No, Mikey wasn't the coolest one. Raphael was. Do you know why? Because when those movies came out, we rented them, and because my son watched the cartoons all the time, like, oh, they made movies, this is awesome, my instructor's in the movie. So we're gonna watch Ninja Turtles, not realizing that this cute and fluffy cartoon is rated PG, not G, as a movie. And Raphael, if you remember the first movie, for the first 45 minutes, Raphael didn't have any lines except for one word, which he said like 3 times. And it sounds a lot like my first name, Dan. But it wasn't. So we're watching this with Michael and all of his little friends from school, while Raphael comes on the scene and stomps around and goes, Dan! And walks off. I'm going, because then there's 10 6-year-olds going, Dan, Dan. Great. And so my wife then decided all of the neighborhood children needed to watch this movie.
You're the one that took all the blame.
I did. I took our children's sword class to Blade in the theater when it came out. It's a comic book, right? How bad can it be? Does anybody remember the opening scene from Blade? The bloodbath? Yeah. The lawyers keep reminding me of that. Anyway, the Sai. This is an amazingly cool weapon, and you see it in the movies all the time because not only did Raphael use this, and hey, Ninja Turtles are cool, but if you're into ridiculously hot chicks in red leather, Elektra used these too. Even if you're not into ridiculously hot chicks in red leather, Elektra still used these in a movie. Just thought I'd make that clear. But the Sai, for all that it's real popular for movies, was not a very functional weapon. Okay? And, hi! Sorry, I know her. And she still came to my panel. The reason why the Sai was not a very functional weapon is it wasn't sharp. So while you're watching Daredevil and Evanescence is screaming in the background, as it should be, and Jennifer Garner's doing little spinning heel kicks and then going wah, zoom, and cutting sandbags in half, it's not real. I know they actually make these now that are sharp, but the farming implement, the Sai, was not sharp. This was used to plant rice seeds. Familiar with rice fields? It's like 3 or 4 inches of water and then 3 or 4 inches of mud. So about 8 inches, and then after that, more dry ground. They actually, in this country, if you want to plant seed, you get a broadcast spreader and a bag, and you just push the thing and throw seed everywhere. In Japan, they counted everything because farmers were poor, very poor. I mean, even by Midwestern United States standards. They used this to push the rice seed down deep enough that it would be able to take root and grow. As a combat weapon, when you watch people practicing with them, they use them to catch other people's strikes. So if somebody has a sword, congratulations on your sword. You see them used where somebody's, and when you watch them practicing and spinning them around, they always have their fingers in here. This is the wrong way to catch a sword strike, just so we're clear. If you put that out there and they go, there's 1, 2, and pretty soon you're holding it like this. Okay? And it wasn't very practical. Somebody's attacking you with a 3-foot sharpened razor blade, and you're going to catch that with a tuning fork. It's not going to work very well. It did, however, give rise to another weapon. The Japanese were huge on tinkering and adjusting. And what the samurai class did, they actually took this, they took one of the tines off and made this part shorter and a little bit thicker, and it was called the jite, and it was actually used by the Japanese police to arrest drunken samurai. They had a jite and a 50-inch dowel called a jo, or as it translates into English, a stick. And what happened was, policemen carrying jite and stick, drunken samurai out being stupid, swinging a sword around, it was considered politically incorrect to kill drunken important people. So when drunken important people are swinging a sword, you use the stick to knock the sword down, and then the jite to lock the blade in place, and then you could reason with them with the stick. So if we actually have anybody that takes Aikido, if you learn techniques with the jo, you wonder why you learn all these really cool joint locks and things against people who are unarmed. Why am I using a stick to break somebody's arm if they don't have a weapon? It seems unfair. They were arrest techniques that the samurai, the police, known as Doshin, used against drunks. But that's what the Sai was good for. mean, I know it looks cool when Raphael gets mad and throws them too, but these aren't real aerodynamic. But as long as we're on the subject of Ninja Turtles, next weapon. This is the important people have arrived. Everybody turn, give it up for Johnny Young Bosch. Oh, wait, sorry, no. Give it up for Randy Stolzaz. They didn't seem nearly as enthusiastic, Randy.
They're probably in shock from... Go ahead, no, proceed.
Were you going to insult me?
No.
You're going to hurt my feelings already? My wife's in here and she's armed. Quick, give her some. She has a lemur, great. All right, next weapon up for ninja weapons of death, the nunchaku, also known as the YouTube weapon of infamy. Because everybody's seen the videos. The teenage boy who should know better, but he's a teenage boy. He has a video camera and no parental control. So he's going, whoa! And if he doesn't hit himself in the head, he does this underneath move and hits him. We talked about this already. There is nothing funny about smacking that bone with a stick moving in excess of 140 miles an hour. But that's still one step up from the video that everybody's seen. They're swinging the stick around and they end up going, whack! And I have news for you. We consider that natural selection. If you're going to do that, it's probably best to get that out of the gene pool right away. These weapons, you see them being spun around. The reason why they do that is because you can move them very, very fast. And if you train with these in your school, a lot of times you'll see them with silver tape around the ends. It's called retinal retention tape. The reason why they do that is it makes it easier to follow the ends. So if you're training in martial arts and your partner is going like this and you're trying to track that, I mentioned before, you can spin these around in excess of 140 miles an hour. Now by comparison, somebody throwing a punch with a really quick jab will hit upwards of 52 miles an hour. So if you can track this, following somebody's punch when it's coming at you makes it a lot easier to do your big matrix moves. And then get hit by their other hand. But if you are going to swing these, the reason why you spin them and catch them is if you're going to use these to hit somebody with, you hold both ends and create tension. And from right here, he doesn't know if I'm going to swing over the top and hit him on the head, or let go with the top hand and come underneath and hit him in the chin. Or lower. Well, let's be honest, guys fighting guys, that's not an acceptable target. If there's a girl involved in the fight, the guy always ends up on the ground going, ah! I've taught kickboxing for, how old are you? 21? I've taught kickboxing for 20 years now. That's how I tell time. You know what we've never had happen? Bob and weave drills. They throw shots, 1, 2, slip. Put that shot into the body and then hit the focus with. You know what I've never had? I've never had a guy hit me in the groin. You know what has happened? Every girl that has ever trained at our dojo, starting with my lovely wife, has done that bob and weave and hit me. I was starting with her sister. Here you go. 1, 2, and she goes, bam! And what? That's not just, it's because you're tall. My hand would have been, so I called my son, who at the time was 12, and Michael, come over here, hold! And he wasn't paying attention, he didn't see what happened before. Good son, does exactly what dad says. Runs over, grabs the focus mitts. 4! So Bream goes 1, 2, slip, hits him right in the groin and drops him. Only time in 18 years of training I think he's actually been knocked down. Well, other than times she kicked him in the head. And that was in soccer. Twice. Changed his vision. Dropped him on the ground. And I looked at her and went, what was that? And she goes, well, it's habit. So, hitting, going, it's kind of a girl thing. But gentlemen, if you're going to swing these, when you watch, in addition to the hand change stuff, but you see him go down and bring it back, down and bring it back, I want you to pay close attention to this knee. I know I'm wearing this really cool leather skirt. Okay, it's a hakama, it's not really a skirt. Big, poofy pants. It takes too long to write that, though. When I write the script, I'm lazy. watch what I do with my knee on this. You're spinning it this way. See the knee? You see how it turns out? Do you know why? It's because it changes the angle on this so that I can go this way and bring it back. If you don't turn your knee out, the angle changes more extreme and you swing it around like this. And you will hit yourself there, eventually. So gentlemen, if you're gonna work on that, this way. And if you rack yourself after I've shown you how to do it correctly, natural selection at work. It's your own fault now. Now, as far as combat effective, this weapon, the nunchaku, was actually tremendously effective for short and medium range combat, but not in the way you think. Because in a life or death situation, somebody attacking you with a knife or something, you have a stick and you go, whack, and hit them, ow. And it hurts. And then he takes the knife blade, sticks it between your ribs, twists it, pulls it back out. That's not a good trade. I mean, granted, there are no... That's a lot of pent-up frustration. You can tell he's in a relationship. No. This was a good striking weapon, but it wouldn't necessarily end a fight. But for all that it wasn't really effective to strike with, that's how you see it being used in the movies. This is actually illegal in the state of Texas for law enforcement. You know, they have the security, the converted chuck thing. It looks like a nightstick and you twist it. It's got the chain. In Texas, law enforcement personnel are prohibited from carrying the nunchaku. Now think about that. Texas, you can get a carry permit for a bazooka in Texas. And I'm only exaggerating a little bit. There is an RPG that you can get. And you can carry that. But this is illegal in Texas and it has nothing to do with going wham and hitting him on the head. Let me show you why it's illegal in Texas. Bad guy attacks you with a knife, and instead of hitting him with this, you go here and around. Is anybody familiar with the French term tourniquet? Yeah! If you take two sticks and connect them with a short rope or chain, you have a tremendous amount of leverage. And just so we're clear, in the forearm, the radius and ulna are not intended to meet in the middle. And holding it like this, it is possible to actually break somebody's arm really easily. And their leg and all kinds of other things with these. And they're illegal for law enforcement in Texas because of the lawsuits. So you can kill them. Really? Was that Ninja Turtles? Here, we gotta go. We'll be back. Michael Bay's calling. Only we're not teenagers anymore, and we're not mutants, we're aliens, and Donatello has had a sex change. You guys heard that, right? As awful as it. See, now people are coming in. What? Sex change? Now that's a serious costume. Sorry. Not just breaking arms. Bad guy attacks, pass it, shift. Anybody familiar with Aikido? We talked about this earlier. Aikido, Steven Seagal's martial art with the throws and stuff. It's an entry move. It's called Ariminage. It's where you shift through. It looks kind of like a clothesline, but it doesn't work quite that way. Can you take one? You be careful. Bad guy attacks, and the goal is shift through and take their balance. You knock them down. Imagine that with this. Attack comes in, shift here. Now what you're doing is you are catapulting somebody on the back of their head with a chain around their neck. I love this one. You don't like it? Fine, we'll look at something else. The downside to this is there wasn't very much reach, and against someone with a sword, this wasn't very effective because really short reach, and if you are trying to hit somebody and you go, whoa, and he swings his sword and goes, whoop, and chops off the end of your stick, you have a little stick in your hand with a rope hanging off of it. It's like a swing set on the playground that has no seat. It's just the rope hanging down. So it wasn't very good. But the next fun tool was, ta-da, the kama, or hand sickle. This was not one of the weapons used by the Ninja Turtles. I don't know why, because it's ridiculously cool. Now you can still buy these. They're at Walmart. They're like $10.88 because the prices are falling. What they don't tell you is quality's falling too. If you buy one of those Walmart Kama and use them for what they're intended for, digging in the dirt, weeding, you're going to break it in about, how long did my last one last? I'm an overachiever though. It could last 5 or 6 minutes. Remember I said before, feudal Japan, samurai, child samurai, the weapons were passed down. For the farmers, same thing happened. Your dad's tools were built to last, and the chances are you would be using those same tools when you got old enough. The Kama, this was a solid piece of metal, all the way down with wood handles put over it, rivets put through it. This was designed to last for a long, long time. And since it was much stronger than the stuff you see at Walmart, meant you could actually use it for things. The inside of this is sharp, really sharp. And because of the edge geometry, you know those horror movies where the bad guy takes a spoon and goes, whoa, boom, and sticks it in the guy's head and somehow penetrates the skull, and you're going, things don't really penetrate human skulls that easily. Sometimes they can. And this was actually one of those weapons that could penetrate the human skull. Allow me to demonstrate. That would be what happened to... I have no idea what that joke was. That wasn't a joke. It wasn't funny, so I guess it wasn't. Sorry. The Kama was a ridiculously effective close quarters in-fighting weapon because of the very sharp edge and the point that was actually really effective at penetrating the human skull. You could take it and go through someone, but that wasn't the best way to use these. If you were being attacked, well, let's see. Let's go with, here, you can have one of these. Good luck. Okay, so, bad guy attacks, and the first thing you're going to do is, what? All right, fine, do you want me to use a practice one to make you feel better? I hate using them. Look, these actually look pretty cool. Doesn't that look like you could just kill somebody? All right, come on. Anybody saw Children of the Corn? I don't think they actually used one, but it's on the cover of the poster because it looks pretty bad. I hacked up my mom. Not really. She was nervous. No, it was your mom. Practice version. It doesn't look near as scary. Looks like a duck. But please picture that, okay? Bad guy attacks. You go here. So what you've done is you pass their strike and cut their wrist, and this goes here. Not in the side of the head, right inside the collarbone. Clavicle, you go right here. What I want you to do is remember how long this was, okay? Hold still. It's inserted just inside the clavicle and runs down to right about there. If my son had a heart, that's lethal. See, the joke's a lot funnier when it's my wife up on stage. Well, it's funnier to me. They'd laugh too if they weren't so afraid of it. But you know the really fun part? Once you have that weapon inserted, you can kill someone. They're not going to stop. They're going to fight back. They're going to swing. They're going to do something. So once you've done this move, you cut their wrist. This goes down inside their chest cavity. What you do is you shift backwards and yank this forwards and down so that you leverage them forwards down onto their face by virtue of that long piece of steel lodging against the front of their rib cage. From the in. You guys came to this panel, come on! Ninja weapons of death! What did you think I was going to talk about? The Lollipop Guild? Oompa Loompas! Yeah, because nothing says Oompa Loompa like a 6'7" white guy in a dress. Shut up. So these were ridiculously effective. Strike comes in high, pass it, and you would go opposite directions. Block, cut across the abdomen. Or, same thing going otherwise, high strike, here, cutting the inside of the wrist, cutting across the abdomen. So for those of you into suicide, I'll cut your wrist and open. It's like assisted suicide. Dr. Kevorkian would love me. And for you talking about the groin, you're absolutely right. That first one, opposite, right leg in front on that big thrust. So we're blocking here, and this one's going opposite directions. So you're going here, not actually groin, but the inside of the thigh where the femoral artery runs. And you're trapping that against their own, like, and then wrenching. All right, we won't talk about the femoral artery, okay? But you could do other things. If that strike was coming in, you could block it and then hook. This is going not to the body, but just to the back of the arm. You know where the tricep runs? Picture that hooking behind their tricep, and then you're yanking towards you. This way. Does anybody remember Terminator 2? Remember when Arnold had to prove that, the kid made Arnold prove he was a robot by pulling his arm off? These will do that for you. It's a little more expensive, but the surgery to put back on. But the downside to the comma, as effective as they were for infighting, the downside was almost no reach. They were a very, very short weapon that, combined with the fact that it only extends your reach by about 9 or 10 inches, the sharp part is also towards you. This part of the blade wasn't sharp, so hitting them was not very effective. And somebody with a sword, or especially somebody on horseback, had a tremendous reach advantage where you couldn't fight against them. And that's where the next thing comes in. If you've seen ninja movies, you've seen these with a little clip on the end with a chain on the end. For those of you Dungeons and Dragons, Legend of Five Rings kind of geeks, the Kusari Gauntlet. And when you see them in the movies or on the cover of the ninja magazines, they're holding the chain in one hand and in the other hand and swinging this around and around to fight somebody on foot. And it didn't work very well that way. Truthfully, if he has a sword and I have this as my defense weapon and I throw it at him, zing! If I miss, I'm screwed. Remember the second Ace Ventura movie when he's in the cave, bat, and the lights go out? I'm okay, so I'm tagging the medallion. He throws him in, yeah. Okay. The reason why they actually put that on a chain was for farmers to fight off invaders that were on horseback because they couldn't reach somebody on horseback with a spear or a sword. So what they did is they put a chain on the end of this, or a rope, and swung it around overhand. Overhand. And when they got in range, they would fling it out and then yank back on the rope. The goal was for this to come around and go doink between the shoulder blades. And then yank! And we're back to the whole pulling them face down. Because once you tug them off their horse by embedding an 8-inch steel spike in their back, they're easier to subdue. Basically thought I'd point that out. Okay, but that's where the chain thing came from. As far as actual hand-to-hand combat, not so much. They usually cut the chain separate. That would be, honestly, my favorite of these weapons. Don't get nervous, this is the only thing I'm taking off on stage. Unless, I did that once and some old lady in the front, really old lady said, wait, I don't have my 5s. And I'm like, what is wrong? 5s? We may fund our show. The chain, known as the Manriki. This is something you find in all the ninja catalogs. They're like 18 or 28 inches long, really, really thin, lightweight. And once again, we're back to the perception versus reality. They're shown like this. You have one end of the weighted chain in one hand, you're swinging it like this. Because this guy's trying to kill me, and I'm going to discourage him by throwing a 4-ounce lead weight at him. Because if I hit him, it might poke out an eye. Which it could, but we're talking about life or death, and me going, whoa, whack, and him going, ow! It's not going to stop him. He's just going to chop my head off and then go, I hated that guy. Ugh. I need a Band-Aid. You know, it wasn't going to work to actually win a fight. And then we're back to the, he has a knife or sword and I have this, and I go, zing, and miss. And he's back to, better luck in your next life. And I'm hitting the reset button on my game because I screwed up. Okay? This was actually, in real life, historically, a tremendously valuable weapon, and something that many samurai carried as well, but it wasn't done quite the way the ninja magazines and stuff make it look. First of all, the chain was a little bit heavier, like this one, and it was cut to personal length, meaning, if I want one of these, it's going to be cut so it's long enough to go around my waist and wrap once. Like this. We tuck in the back of the hakama. And then keep in mind, if you're familiar with Japanese fashion, the belt is called an obi. And on men's fashion, the obi tends to be about 4 inches. Women's fashion, that obi is actually much bigger, up to like 6 and even 8 inches. I'm wearing a martial arts uniform, so I have a 2-inch belt. So it's not going to have quite the same effect. But what you did is you took this chain, looped the ends, tucked them into the back of your hakama, and then tucked this into your belt, and it did 2 things. Number 1, I know, now you're worried again, right? No. The first was, having it tucked into the belt muffled the noise so the links didn't hit together, and you couldn't hear that I was wearing this. The second thing it did, you can't see it. Now again, remember I made the excuse that I'm wearing a martial arts uniform now, so you can still see it kind of on the corner, so if you're really paying attention, I either have piercings in really weird places, or a chain around my, no, a chain around my waist. But then what happened is, samurai, unarmed, being attacked by a bad guy with a weapon. Take that up. Not giving you the combo, okay? Bad guy attacks with a weapon. The one thing you don't want to do is go, no! Because if you move your hands in front, especially against a sword, this is not a deterrent to a 3-foot sharpened razor blade made of differentially heat-treated steel. Usually it's wax on, arm off kind of thing. So you didn't put your hands forwards. So instead what you do is you put your hands back here, and then this is easy to do. You can find this, and this comes forwards. This way, so when he attacks, you're going here. Look what I got. Now we're back to the whole leverage thing from before. But while I have this tied up, since it's long enough, in addition to a restraining device, see the loop around my hand? I made poor man's brass knuckle. And she immediately hits the guy sitting next to her. That's why my wife is sitting over there. So while they're attacking you, you block their strike, tie up the weapon, and then teach them the error of their ways. No, no, bad, bad. And if that's not good enough, then you take this away from them once they're bloody, and then stab it into them. Because I said it wasn't a very effective weapon. This will still do tremendous damage if it goes up your nostril, all the way to here. Mummification, anyone? Oh, wait, different culture, right? That's why ninja masks covered the nose. Gotta go in the eyes. And do you remember when we talked about the nunchaku, in addition to the leverage on the forearms? Talked about the arimanage techniques, the entering thing. Bad guy attacks, you block it, you shift in. You go to throw them backwards with a chain around their neck. If they're really big and strong, pretend, we're an anime con. Wow, really? It'll look funny when you breathe out. Over here. If you're too big and strong to tip over, you just step behind them. I like this. This is child raising 101. Also known as bargaining position. Okay? But if they're not that big and strong, you're taking this, you do pass, and then this goes to the throat, and you step back, and you slam them on the ground. Now, if we have anybody here that's done any sort of knife combat, the first thing you learn is to duck your chin down so you protect your throat. I'm glad you mentioned that. Because what happens then is this goes here, this rides the arm up, aiming for the throat, you duck his chin so that gets smashed, the chain gets smashed into your mouth instead. So it's smashing your lips and shattering teeth. And then you're being thrown over backwards with this in your mouth like a bit. And you're My Little Pony. That was, you know. And if my son's reaction is any indication, you'll never hear that joke again. What? So, beyond that, here, they go like this, and their head slips back, because the one thing you know is you don't want to get your teeth shattered by a chain. That's really unpleasant. So if it rides just slightly above that, it's going to end up right here. Is anybody familiar with that nerve cluster right there that you use to get people to straighten up if they don't want to? It doesn't matter whether they want to or not, it still works. It's really unpleasant. My son hates it. Also has to wipe his no. The downside to that is the end of your nose, the tip of your nose is cartilage. And in a life or death struggle, the cartilage in someone's nose will break before you really accomplish flawless victory. So the chain will keep going. That's not all bad, because then what happens is this comes up, breaks the nose, and then as it's raking across the top of the nose, what stops it is the eyebrow ridge. So now you are slamming somebody over backwards by smashing a chain into their eyeballs, and then slamming the back of their skull on the ground. This is my favorite weapon ever. And this is my favorite part of the show because this is my son. This is his big acting debut. Now die. Oh. See, I don't think they like it. It wasn't the acting they liked, it was the fact that Alright, so until he's buried under. We have one last weapon to talk about. The shuriken.